Joining me now, Robert Zimmerman. He's a Democratic National Committee member from New York. I mean, that's the thing, is I'm looking at this, and in March, the Senate Commerce Committee voted to extend the deadline for implementing that positive train control, and both Republicans and Democrats supported that measure. They just needed more time. How is this an infrastructure problem?
They needed more time, though. First of all, let me just say my prayers and heart go out to the victims and the heroic first responders at the scene, one of whom was a good friend of mine. They were just, it's a terrible tragedy. But when we talk about infrastructure and talk about the positive train control that you make reference to, that was an important infrastructure technology, and it was delayed for a lack of funding. That's why it was stretched out.
Put it in place.
Why don't they stop
and say we need personal responsibility? And right now, our main investigation is focused on the engineer. Let's let that play out before we start demanding more money.
But it's Robert Sumwalt, not a politician, Robert Sumwalt, who's leading the federal probe from the National Traffic Safety Board, who raised the issue that the positive train control would in fact be an important infrastructure advantage.
It's been approved.
But it's been
going
delayed
into
for,
place.
But it's been delayed for
That's
lack of...
just a fail-safe, Robert.
Megan.
No, look at the stats.
86,000
people travel per day on train in this country on Amtrak. 300 trains a day. 31.6 million passengers traveled on Amtrak in 2013. The vast majority of those arrive safely. You can't say, okay, let's get this positive train control in, and we want it in tomorrow because there's a national emergency. There isn't. There hasn't been.
It's not an either-or situation. First of all, obviously we need it in. It should have been put in. It was delayed for a lack of funding. That doesn't excuse the engineer for any faults he may or may not have committed on the site.
Nor does it make this an infrastructure problem.
Megan, we have an infrastructure crisis in our country. Every independent evaluation has given us a D plus evaluation.
That's true. The American Society of Engineers gives the nation a D plus on the state of transportation.
That's right.
However, that's a separate argument. They're having a separate argument about transportation funding in this country. You don't exploit a tragedy like this that may have nothing to do with the state of the infrastructure.
Megan, the reason it was in the news today is because the Republican-controlled House Appropriations Committee met today and voted along party lines to cut funding in the wake of this tragedy for infrastructure assistance for Amtrak. That's why it was in the news. That's why Democrats responded.
That does not necessarily have anything to do with the cause of this crash. And to suggest it does is exploitative. Amtrak has gotten $1.5 billion from the feds every year for the past 13 years.
That's
towards
right.
its funding.
And they've also seen the Congress cut the funding too and reduce it to previous year levels.
But they funded this positive train control. The one thing they're saying might have helped override what appears to be engineer error.
But Megan, they delayed it for a lack of funds in the budget.
Wow.
Here's the big issue, though.
This is Rahm Emanuel. Never let a crisis go to waste.
No, it's not. It's about all of us coming together in a bipartisan way to address our infrastructure crisis.
To ask the taxpayers for more money.
Actually, that was the argument used against the Louisiana purchase of the interstate superhighway when we had to borrow money. But the reality is the best investment we can make in our country. Let's not get so down on America that we refuse to invest in it. That's how you build jobs and grow the economy. That's right.
No one is down on America just looking to figure out the facts first. You know, it may turn out that it's not this engineer's fault at all. All I know is what the officials are saying today. So why don't we just stick with that? Why does everyone have to jump to, this is a great excuse for you to fund the thing I want money for?
It's not about funding the thing we want money for. It's the thing our economy needs. We know that for every dollar we spend on infrastructure, it produces $3.51 for our economy. For every $1 billion, it produces over 100,000 jobs.
Why don't we wait until the bodies are out of the train?
Why are we ignoring the infrastructure crisis that both parties agree exists? You know, there was a
They're not ignoring it. This is bipartisan. This isn't the Dems, or just the Republicans. This is them together trying to tell the American taxpayer, you blew it, you didn't give us enough money, and this is an infrastructure problem.
No one's giving this engineer an excuse if he was at fault. The probe is to determine that. But let's also not give our Congress a pass from doing what they have to do, and that is investing in building a safe infrastructure.
It's great to see you.
Good to be with you.